Good evening and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly hangout where Masons from around the country get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies: the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. As usual, tonight we are soliciting questions and comments from you via Twitter at Mason Roundtable and or with the hashtag TMR episode 16, hashtag TMR episode 16. We'll go around the room with introductions. My name is John Ruark, and I am the past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957, and currently the chaplain and lodge education officer. Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson from Waukegan Lodge number 78, senior warden, and I also am the education officer. Well, kind of share that with a committee. Anyway, pass it off to Brother Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick Johnson, past master Corinthian Lodge number 67 in Big Time Farmington, Minnesota, and I am officers and other junk. So there you go. Pass it off to Juan.
Juan?
Oh, good evening, brothers. My name is Juan Sepulveda. I am a member of Eola Lodge number 207 in Orlando, Florida, and I am currently free of committees and appointments.
Lucky man. Last but not least, Jason Richards.
Thanks, John. Jason Richards, Senior Deacon of Acacia Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, and de facto member of about 5 or 6 of their committees. I've kind of lost count. I'm also, I also have a leadership position in my Royal Arch chapter, but I haven't been back there for a while, so I don't know if I was ever actually supposed to do anything. But I'll send it back to you, John.
Get to it. Get to work. Excellent. Okay, before we get into our topic tonight, as usual, we try to see if there's any Masonic news going on, and usually the best place for that is Brother Chris Hodap's Freemasons for Dummies blog. Now, this week he did mention about a Masonic Restoration Symposium coming in August. So let's see if I can get the screen share up. Has anyone ever been to one? Has anyone heard about this thing?
I've heard about them, which is in the sense that the traditional, or it has to do with traditional observance in a way. And so when I had talked to Hodap before, he seemed to think that he had some interesting thoughts about it, and so now he's kind of on the other side of it. So he's kind of, I think, switched sides as far as his thoughts about TO and all that. But
oh yeah.
Well, it's interesting because the Masonic Restoration Foundation, we actually pimped out their website back when we did our discussion on traditional observance in our second episode. They're kind of one of the main proponents and driving forces in the TO movement today.
Yeah. Well, they essentially hold the trademark to traditional observance, and so if you want to be traditional observance, you have to follow their rubric of lodge practices, and so that's kind of why TO is a big deal, and they have to go out. It used to be back in the day, according to at least the paperwork I read earlier, is that you actually had to attend these symposiums, and they would be all in far-flung places of the country, and so you'd be flying out and spending thousands of dollars just to become TO. I think they've dropped that now, and now it's just symposiums to chat about things. But before, at least according to the articles I was reading, you actually had to go out to those places. So that was crazy to me. But
okay, so this doesn't sound like it's a first-time thing. It's actually been an ongoing Masonic Restoration Foundation activity.
Hey, you want to know some Masonic news?
I do.
Yes.
I posted a blog post.
Oh.
I know. I had this inspiration of all of about 25 words, so I put it out there, and then I embedded a Google map. I know. What?
wow.
I saw that. It wouldn't work for me at work.
It
Yeah, I know.
just long enough to not be a Twitter post.
I beat that 140 characters.
Nice.
Just slightly.
But yeah, I guess if you want, apparently you can use the obelisk of the Washington Monument now on Google Maps, and you can actually watch the shadow if you're on the non-light Google Maps version. And so now, instead of having to look at that clock on the right side of your computer, you can just watch the old sundial in Washington, D.C. Tick, 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 all the way up.
Crazy.
I know, so that was my one inspired post.
And Masonic conspiracy starts now.
Well, I was gonna ask Nick, did you post anything about the Masons being involved in the Washington Monument and how that's supposed to bring about the end of the world in like 22 or 23 years?
Yeah, there was a show about that.
There wasn't there?
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
missed that one.
I mean, there is no conspiracy. All right, enough of that. Topic tonight: Lodge success. What does success mean, right? So there's lots of things that can be successful in Lodge. There's lots of things that could be failures in Lodge. So instead of calling out the negative things, let's focus on the positive. Just in general, we could have success with the ritual. We could have success with education. We could have successful meetings. We could have successful community events, and any combination thereof. So I'll really kind of preface this and start off with, can any of you think of a time where you had a truly awesome Lodge experience? Has there ever been something that you just sat back and said, this was a great night at Lodge? And then when you think about that, think about what specific factors came into play. What was unique about that awesome Lodge experience you had that was different than normal and that made it successful? So I'll open the floor with that. Any awesome aha moments?
Well, I've got one, and you'll appreciate this one, John. Back in your year, when
Of
you were
course.
master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957, we had a really cool opportunity to have a Masonic presentation over Skype at dinner, where my mentor, Brother David Hill, actually Skyped in from Canberra, Australia, and gave a really great talk about Masonry in Australia. And it was just something that elevated the entire Lodge experience to a whole new level, just hearing about how they do it literally halfway across the world. And it was just really neat.
That sounds amazing. I was going to mention, I actually had two moments. For me, the first one was I was a new Master Mason. I was sitting in probably my third or fourth stated business meeting. And, the first three business meetings, the first three stated meetings were very run-of-the-mill. They were, communications, minutes, bang, 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 all just down the line. And I distinctly remember certain meetings where they said, wow, all right, 17 minutes, we did it, guys, let's go home. I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. I didn't know any better, right? And so then my fourth meeting, I remember there was discussion on, and it was a bill of all things, and it got so heated that the master had to gavel the dude down, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome! But of course it wasn't awesome. I mean, in retrospect, that was the first time I realized that maybe there's, more things that happen than just paying the bills. And so that was an awesome experience to see kind of the politics in the Lodge room. But the real Lodge awesome experience that I had was the first time that I got to do Masonic education in the Lodge. We hadn't had education in several years, and I didn't know. I was immediately thrown into the Lodge education officer chair, and it was my first time doing anything there. And I stood up and I just read something that I wrote, and everybody applauded. And I was really surprised, and I was kind of taken back because I didn't think that my previous experience seeing these guys get through a meeting in 17 minutes, how they were going to take me talking for 10. And it went over crazy awesome, and that was an awesome experience. Not because it was, I was involved, but just to see these guys accept something that, is probably supposed to be in a meeting.
That's why I told you that you should hire 5 people to clap like I do every time I close an episode of The Winding Stairs. They clap. That way it doesn't take me by surprise when I'm on.
$5.
That's awesome.
Here you go, Fiverr. No, but I wanted to mention.
That's actually how Juan got on the Masonic Roundtable too. Fiverr.
You get $5, and
They got me on Fiverr.
Which
I do
reminds me-
random Masonic projects for $5. Hit me up. Exclusively on Fiverr. Well, I had a really cool experience not so long ago, and most of the experience that come to mind were while traveling, even locally, just while going to a different lodge. I was sitting in lodge after giving a presentation. It was an open meeting, so they had the families and friends. So the presentation was out in the dining hall, and then we went into the a tile meeting. And I'm sitting there quietly, and I'm looking at everything, how everything was done in that lodge, like the attention to detail, even the stewards, the way they would stand up in synchronicity, and the deacons. And all of a sudden, I look, and at the end, I can see that night, my best friend from childhood, he was the junior steward. But I'm looking at him, and I had like one of those moments of like I had an epiphany. It's like, oh wow, I'm a Freemason, and my best friend of my whole life is an officer in a Masonic lodge, and he's sitting right there. And it was like that, like everything clicked. Like 20 years ago, I would never imagined that I would do anything, had anything to do with Masonry, let alone that my friend from childhood was sitting in a leadership position within the lodge. And I felt really proud of him, and like really proud of that moment of like that I paid attention to what was happening. It's like, oh wow, check this out. So it felt really nice. It was a very private but very fulfilling moment within the lodge.
That's awesome.
So, I had a pretty cool time when I was master. It was pretty much like this whirlwind of all kinds of experiences, because my lodge gave me carte blanche to do whatever I wanted, right? Which is very dangerous, giving a lodge over to a 27-year-old, right? Very dangerous.
Wow.
And so, but what happened was, I was looking at the Grand Lodge's website, and I saw this program for a Table Lodge First Degree. And I was like, I think we can pull this off. And so I said to everybody, I think we can pull this off. And they said, okay, Nick, what is it? It's Table Lodge. Oh, we've done those before, with a degree into it. What? These guys are sitting there going, can we even do this? Is this allowed? And I'm like, it's on the Grand Lodge's website. We're allowed. Let's do this thing. And so we had the table set up. We did the degree. The new candidates loved it. But what really threw me off is that, everything just came together. All of a sudden we had the sitting Grand Master, the immediate past Grand Master, the deputy Grand Master, a bunch of custodians. Because, apparently this program hadn't been in the Metro for years, maybe even decades, I don't know, but, so we were like the first lodge to do it. And it went over so successfully, we did it again, 6 months later. And it was just, it's one of those things where, giving this young kid, essentially I was a kid, the key is in saying, let's take this hot rod out for a spin. And, I just loved it, It was so much fun.
Very cool. See, as for me, it was also during my year, shocker, that we had a great experience. And one thing I was very happy, I had a lot of educational speakers lined up, and I was very happy with how a lot of that turned out. But I think one example that sticks in my mind is I was able to time it so as Chris Hodap was out here in the East for Masonic Week, that he kind of bookended his trip by visiting the Patriot Lodge. So in doing that, we had to do a called communication. So it wasn't our regular business night. And we had an open program by him. So it was open to anybody and everybody. And in fact, we reached out to all the neighboring districts, sent shotgunned emails and announcements, and also had guys bring their friends, guys bring their wives and girlfriends, and just had a very big, open and inviting thing. Sometimes we had literally a handful of guys who had never been to a Masonic Lodge before go in and sit here and hear this author. Of course, unless they've watched any conspiracy theory shows, they haven't really seen Chris Hodat, but it was a big deal. Plus, he was selling his books later. So he had a great presentation. I think it was the same one you shared on your podcast last year, RJ.
Oh,
and,
yeah, 100.
Yeah, he of course reused that same thing, and with the internet, the practicality of reuse is kind of narrowing, but it was still a great speech, as you know, and very inspiring. And one thing that was after he was all said and done, I thought was really fascinating was I heard, as sitting as a young, and this was actually on my second month as master, to hear a seasoned past district deputy grand master come up and tell me that this was one of the greatest events he's been to. It really just kind of blew my mind because he had a reputation for being a particular, right? And so to hear him kind of open up and say, good job, kid, kind of thing, it really was special to me. And so some of the factors that I think contributed to that were, one, having a good education program, two, having a Masonic celebrity, if it were, three, having it open, and not just open to EAs and fellowcrafts, but to anybody and wives. We did get, I think, 2 petitions out of that, so guys that eventually joined because of seeing this open program. And really just kind of sticking around for the fellowship afterwards and letting him, of course, sell his books and get take happy snaps and pictures, and really just the whole combination of all that in a very social gathering was a big success.
That's really cool.
So it's really kind of interesting listening to all of these different lodge experiences. I was trying to think of like different themes of, was there a common thread, and really it was all I could get out of all of our shared experiences were that aha moment where everything kind of fell together.
It sounded to me like it was stark contrast moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things that were completely out of the ordinary, or things that hadn't been done in years, like in Nick's case. You can't put in words like just how wildly different that's going to come across. People who haven't seen it in years, new Masons who were like me, right? Business meeting to business meeting to business meeting, and it's in and out. All of a sudden, what? We're having a Skype call in from Australia?
Awesome.
After I talked about this show actually for Lodge Education, I said, if you guys want to check it out, check it out. And I mentioned Nick Johnson in the Castle Island Lodge, right? And one of the past masters in Lodge, who I didn't, he's an amazing guy. I love the guy to death. He's like a dad. But he's not the kind of guy I would have pegged to have said, can we do that in open lodge and like share a lodge meeting with those guys? And I went, I don't know. I'll have to talk to Nick about it and see what the rules are and all this. Just these stark differences, like in your case, you had this super successful Hodat visit. To get petitions out of, petitions to come in from an event is, it's awesome.
Okay. So based on those good experiences, are there any lessons learned from either the past masters or any of the officers of things that lodges should do to repeat success? Are there any good tips and tricks of making sure that things are in place for those aha moments? I'll start with the past master. Nick, what do you think?
Well, as a past master, let me tell you a few things from my year. See, when you guys said, the topic of the show is lodge success, all I could think is, oh yeah, it's the My Year show. But seriously, when I was master, I kind of viewed, I don't like Steve Jobs. I didn't like him, you know, but I took his saying of, good artists create, great artists steal, right? And what I did is I started as a very young junior warden, traveling to as many lodges as I could. And I was picking up different ideas that everybody does. And I was trying to figure out what's the secret sauce for this lodge that's working, what isn't working for it. And then finally, when I took over the master's chair, I looked around and said, now what do we got to do? We got to get a website, we got to get some kind of community involvement thing, and we got to start having fun because boring business meetings are not my thing. I do them at work, and I don't want to do them here. So, and it was just one of those that you have to start looking at what everybody else is doing, taking those really great ideas, bringing them back to your lodge, and then and then trying to remove all the things that aren't working in other lodges out of your own lodge, and it makes everything work a lot better. Plus,
You
the
know,
other thing is, yeah, experiment. That's,
right. No, so that's a good point because I don't know, like the epiphany kind of hit me sometime as I was an officer leading up to the East, and I said, really, all things being equal, what separates this lodge from any other lodge, right? And that if it's just because, oh, it's tradition that all the lodges in this district do this, then why join this lodge or another lodge, or why, if it's so expected, then it's not special. And so I followed that same kind of mindset, Nick, of let's try to think of something unique that's never been done before, or that's just something out of the ordinary, so people will stop and think.
Now, did the affinity part of your lodge help a lot in that respect?
I don't think so. I think it was just really just taking the effort to try something different and having a good support staff of past masters, maybe not of Patriot Lodge, but around the district that say, good mentorship. We talked a little bit about mentorship in the past. Having good mentors that were behind you in case, to try something new, not in case something went bad, but a little bit of top cover. If they supported it, then a lot of the other graybeards would support it too.
I think of when a brother joins the officer line. I've talked before that if you don't envision this brother sitting in the East and being the person that governs over the lodge, then it's a bad decision to put him there. But keeping that in mind, if you put a brother in the first seat to start going through the chairs up to the East, then he should expect to, at one point or another, reaching the East. It's almost expected. You go through the line of officers and you reach the East. With keeping that in mind, then it's important that from the very get-go, start observing and trying to plan for their year. And that's one of the things that we do here in the 17th District in Florida, is that during the Masonic leadership training, it's driven in. You have to prepare for your year from the moment you step in the line, from that very moment. Paying attention to what works, paying attention to what doesn't, what did you love in what meeting, what did you absolutely hate, and start envisioning your year. That way when you get to the East, you have all this, portfolio of experiences that you can then execute in your year, hopefully. So I think that helps a lot, having that mindset. You'll get there. Start preparing now.
Well, in addition to that preparation, I think there's also to be said for delegation of authorities and responsibilities and actions, because what makes a lodge successful is its people, and it's very, very difficult to be successful when you only have a very small core group of maybe 3 or 4 individuals who carry the weight and the work of the lodge. So it's important, especially as a master and an officer in the lodge, to try to get as many people involved as possible so that, one, nobody gets burned out, and two, more people have a chance to serve the lodge and get excited about the work that they're doing, because most of the brothers, I think at least at Acacia, who don't come, just feel disengaged and distant. And I think that's a main driver for brethren not coming back to lodge. So if you get them involved in even little tiny ways, it helps increase that participation, and it kind of levels out the playing field as far as Masonic work goes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I just had a really good idea. Since we're getting close to our time, I wanted to maybe do a quick word association. So, if you guys are willing for this little game here, let's do this.
This is going to be dangerous.
This is going to be bad, yeah. Keep it clean, keep it clean.
Yes.
So when I say, a certain word, then you want to tell me what makes it a successful thing, just in kind of one or two words, what makes this thing successful. So, for example, we'll start with Jason. We'll go all the way down the line. What makes a successful meeting? Just the meeting itself. So
you say keep it clean.
Yeah.
No. What makes a successful meeting? Brevity and levity.
Nice. Juan?
Keep it entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Nick? Apparently he's had no successful meetings.
Honestly, no. They tried to kick me out of the chair so many times, but they said nobody else wants to take it.
You have to say worshipful Nick.
Worshipful.
Hey, there you go.
That's what made it
Thank
successful.
you. That's a good. Move on to Robert. I'll think of it.
Okay. Robert, successful meeting.
When they pay the bills and I get my check.
Bling.
I'm just kidding.
Back to Nick.
Honestly, for me, it's when they actually we come through with a project. Something gets they solidify something that is going to happen. It's not just the talk.
Cool. Nick?
Everybody works.
There you go. Yeah, as for me, I'd probably say concise, stick to an agenda, and get everything done, but do it efficiently. Okay, next word is education. What's successful education? Jason?
Open-minded and innovative.
Dude, you're like awesome tonight. Juan?
Understand.
I know it's outside of the norm.
I don't
Sorry,
believe it. Juan, how about you? What's successful education?
Meet and exceed expectation.
Great. Nick?
Engaging.
Very good. Robert?
If I could throw up one of the memes that Nick is so popular for, mind-blowing, right? You just see the guy's face. Yeah. Things that make you think.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd say you stole that one from me, that it has to be thought-provoking. Okay, next one. How about growth in the fraternity? What's successful in growing the lodge, growing the fraternity? Jason?
Work.
Nice.
Everybody's got to put their time in order to reap the benefits thereof.
Juan?
No, I was going to say that collaboration.
Successful growth. It requires collaboration. Nick?
De-emphasize the leadership.
On level.
Mm-hmm. Robert?
Degree mills.
Turn the crank.
I would revert to what we talked about earlier, and giving, as Jason said, giving somebody who is a newly raised Master Mason something to do.
Great. As for me, growth, I would probably say exposure. Get our name out there in the community. Let them see by our good works who we are. Outreach. I guess it's kind of related, so I'll skip over that one. How about ritual? What's successful ritual, Jason?
Showing up to practice.
Practice.
It's got to be done. You can't shortcut it.
That's very true.
Not even me.
Not even you. Juan, what's successful when it comes to ritual?
I think, I don't know how to say it, but empathy. Like, put yourself in the shoes of that candidate that's going through it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Nick,
Solemn.
say that again.
Yes.
Solemn.
Ah, very nice. I like that. Good word choice. Robert.
I would go with memorization and successful and acceptable improvisation when you forget.
Because it will happen.
Right. I think successful ritual for me is when it's not rote memorization. You actually mean the words. When
Right.
it's with feeling, I guess, is the
Nice.
short version.
Sure. I just wanted to add to that, like, there are times when I have botched something so horribly, and afterward I go up to the candidate in the other room and go, I want to talk to you about this because I messed it up.
Nice.
You know, I have to admit it to them.
So damage control would be your words.
Yeah, that works. Not me.
All right, gentlemen, we'll starting to get to our time limit. Let's go all the way through around again and do your final thoughts and closing statements, starting with Jason Richards.
Thanks, John. In sum, when you think about lodge success, it's all about the people, because the people are the natural extension of the lodge. What is a lodge? It's a group of Masons who are allowed to meet by a charter. So it's not the building itself. It's not Acacia Lodge. It's a group of Acacia Brethren. The same thing with the Patriot Lodge, a group of Patriot Lodge Brethren. So you really need to focus on the people in order to have success as a lodge. That means the officer line doesn't have to do everything themselves. You have lodge members for a reason. So use them, get them out, get them involved, get them engaged. And I think as long as you keep an open mind about what you're trying to accomplish as a particular lodge, then I think you'll move towards success, and move towards success rather rapidly. We did get a comment on Twitter that I'd really like to share, because this is a really cool opportunity for Masonic success. And that is the Grand Lodge of Indiana is sponsoring an Indiana Colts game on August 23rd, 2014. And they're actually going to have 400 Masons out displaying the flag at the pregame show. So it's Colts versus Saints, sponsored by the Grand Lodge of Indiana. Go and check it out, indianafreemasons.com. It's going to be a fantastic event, especially with that many Masons and that much exposure for the fraternity. And exposure like in a good way, as opposed to this week on super crazy, Masonic conspiracies, lizardmen, and thanks, John, for screen sharing that, because that's going to be a really, really awesome event, because Masons are great men. Great men love sports, so I've heard. So it's going to be fantastic.
Okay. Any other go-backs, Jason?
Nope, that's it.
Great, thanks. Juan?
All right. Before we started recording, I spent some time thinking about what, in my opinion, made Lodge successful, and it reminded me of the three columns that support the Lodge, which are strength, wisdom, and beauty. And when it comes to wisdom, it's important that we put education in a very, very important place within the Lodge. Because there's a lot of people that come to the Lodge looking for something. If they don't find it, they'll dwindle away to complete inactivity. So if that's what you're looking for, the solidity of the finances in the Lodge have a lot to do with that participation in that activity. So it's like all of these things work together. So if you pay attention, make sure that the things that people are coming to the Lodge to get, they're getting them. We'll have more people involved, more financial success, more educational success, and then we'll have enough experience and time and money to reach out and really make a difference in the community, which also brings awareness about the Lodge. So I like this topic. I think we can. There's a lot to be talked about offline. So the brothers that are listening to this, make sure to go to facebook.com slash, what is it, Masonic
The
Roundtable?
Masonic Roundtable.
The Masonic
The-
Roundtable.
For me, it's just a click. So, find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter. We're going to continue to talk about this. If you agree with us, disagree, we want to hear it. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and comment below as well. And thank you for the opportunity. Oh, and also check me out at theweddingstairs.com for Masonic Podcast.
Great. Thanks, Juan. Nick.
The one word I'd like to emphasize the most is experimentation. Take any kind of idea that you have in your head, throw it out there because it's awesome. Trust me, I know you're gonna like it because it's yours. Like with right now, I'm the generalissimo of my commandery. I noticed that nobody was doing an Ascension Day celebration, so guess what? My commandery is doing an Ascension Day celebration.
Cool.
We didn't in council. We did a table council last year because only one other council in my area has done a table council, which really is proving that I'm a fork and knife mason, apparently, because everything I want to do involves food. But that's okay.
Can we make a table lodge out of that?
I know, I could take, maybe I got to figure out how to do a table chapter.
Well, we
But
do
anyway,
those in
yeah.
Virginia each year.
That's right. We've got one coming up.
What?
Oh,
God,
yeah.
I'm gonna need that program.
Dick sleeping.
But yeah, seriously, experiment, travel around to different lodges, find out what's working for them, shove it into your lodge. If it doesn't work, throw it back out and try something new. My year pretty much was me taking a whole pot of spaghetti and just throwing it against a wall. So, and it was way fun for everybody.
Now his lodge has dirty walls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is what happens when you give a 28-year-old the keys. All right. My blog is millennialfreemason.com, and you can find it there. And there's actually a blog post that you can read, and I think I just counted 40 words. 40 glorious words.
So even
Memorize
Jason can
them.
read it.
Drink them all in. Yeah, my
The radiance from
ADD
them.
won't get the best of me there.
Squirrel. Squirrel. Robert Johnson.
All right, thank you guys.
Just drive home words of my mentor at one point. He said, success in masonry is going to be measured in your own self-sacrifice. So, what you put into it, you're going to get out of it. And if perseverance is what will get you through things, and eventually success will come. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I hope everybody had a really honorable Memorial Day yesterday. Thanks for anybody who participated. We shared an event that was the National Memorial Day minute at 3 p.m. wherever you are. You're supposed to take a minute of silence. And I just want to thank everybody who participated in that. Juan, I want to throw you and say you forgot to mention freemasonryart.com. So you've got amazing things there. You should check those out.
Use coupon WCY at checkout.
Well, you can use coupon WCY, but you don't have to. It's more important to get some awesome stuff from Juan. May 31st, it's just around the corner. There's a dyslexia walk for the Valley of Chicago, Scottish Rite, trying to raise money for a new center. Every year that they've done it, they've raised a good amount of money, and they're close. We can start to think about building this other center now. So if you guys can, visit walkfordyslexia.org, and you can make a PayPal straight to them, or you can go to cdcchicago.com and donate just to the general funds. And if you guys like what you hear here, I'm also on wcypodcast.com, which is Whence Came You. It's my Masonic podcast. And pretty soon we're going to have Joseph James back on. He's got a pretty big announcement to do. So
Nice.
that's all I got.
Okay. Let's see. I guess that's back to me. I
Yes, sir.
had one other Twitter feedback. Richard Ingham had also commented that he had two successes. One was a 1983 Cornerstone ceremony as well as a Grand Master visitation in 1984. So having unique public events like Cornerstones, as well as having big real-time top senior Masons come is a good thing to do. Also, I wanted to remind everyone that we are now live at theMasonicRoundtable.com, www.theMasonicRoundtable.com, where we have a combination of our Facebook feeds or Twitter feeds. You can find it all there. Go back and see previous shows very easily, just with a few clicks.
How did you find a picture of me as master?
You're a handsome young 27 years old at that time.
You'd be surprised what comes up on Google image search.
Hey, and we do love doing this, but our hosting is not free, so we also have a donate tab that you can donate via PayPal or Bitcoin. Anything you give would be great. It all goes back to hosting the show, and we thank you for that in advance. Let's see. My final thoughts regarding the topic include that in Virginia, one thing that's worked really well for setting people up for success is we have a subordinate lodge officers training, SLOT. They call it slot training, even though it's redundant. It's like PIN number and ATM machine. But the slot is very good for primarily geared towards officers, though any Master Mason can take it, and it really helps you think of the things that you need necessary for your year upcoming as Worshipful Master, which is really nice. It helps you plan programs, it helps you plan committees, it helps you just really think about all the work that it requires, including leadership of how to run your lodge. As Jason said, get everyone involved. Everyone can have a job in the lodge. So if someone's just showing up to hear the bills being paid, they're not getting anything really out of Masonry. So give them a task. Find their talent, because there are some people that are really good at just greeting people, and there's some people that really love calling people on the phone and reminding them of lodge, upcoming lodge communications. So give everyone a job and make it fit their personality. Another success, I think, was for Patriot Lodge, we tried to have programs open to entered apprentices and fellow crafts as well. So we didn't have strictly tiled communications where only Master Masons could see. We tried to have a lot of open programs that anyone could go to, and had a lot of good success, and a couple petitions come out of that as well. And kind of associated with that, have a festive board. A lot of this has been captured in other documentation like the Laudable Pursuit or Observing the Craft, but having a good festive board where you have nice food, not just lame spaghetti and beans, right, but have good quality, a good quality dining experience where you can socialize, really helps bring people together.
And a festive board is different than a table lodge.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good point. Yep. Again, there's our URL below, so make sure you check that out and donate to all the charities, especially the ones Robert mentioned tonight. Thank you for joining us, and keep searching for more light. Thank you.